Welcome to Artist Trauma. This week we did something appropriately traumatic. Disgrace by J.M. Coetzee. Chris, this was your pick. What did you think of it?
I think it might be the top 10 most disturbing books I've read in a human psychological sense, not like in terms of goriness, but um the main character's bad faith was very hard in some ways to read, actually, for me. And then there's this horrible scene. So we're gonna give some spoilers, but it was a really brutal home invasion. Fire in face, rape, all the above. And it was pretty brutal.
Yeah, I'm very glad I read this for a variety of reasons. But I have to say, I didn't think it was very good. I actually
Really?
have, yeah, I actually found I think there's like a base level competence to the novel, but I just feel like stylistically, there are moments that there would actually be regular moments where I just cringe because I just like, God, you're doing that little gesture again, or the characters sort of felt to me rather incomplete, or just the story. I'm very happy with incompleteness and irresolution. But some of the story moves in here, some of the decisions that like the daughter makes, especially, I just feel like, what the fuck are you doing? This isn't logical. And it doesn't feel like it's the logic of trauma either. So anyway, I had a lot. I'm really glad I read it because it was an interesting foil in my mind. But
Well, I think that's the whole thing. So it's not really a reconciliation novel. I don't know why anyone would think that at all. Anyway,
well,
I mean, the guy,
I do understand why someone would say
but
that.
the guy, yes. I think I think it's a half reconciliation novel, but to read the other half as reconciliation, it would be backwards in several ways backwards. Like a woman retreating to vassal ownership of a tribe. Like, whoa,
Yeah,
man, that was no, absolutely not. I thought,
yeah,
I thought that was that's why I said it was disturbing. That everything she does disturbed me. I think again, just so disturbing.
yeah. For me, I just want to say, like, I get what you're saying. Disturbing for me, the book just wasn't quite good enough to like qualify in that category for me. Of like, I don't know, like Faulkner, um, or Welbeck, taking
Hmm.
almost the only contemporary writer. Like there's stuff that's disturbing in both of them, but I believe in it. I believe in these events. Like the characters feel realistic. The actions of the daughter are just so absurd. We should have a little summary of what.
Okay, wait, now we got to actually say what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, yeah.
But
So
I
so
think I
basically,
disagree. I think this might be the most, that this is one of my favorite things we've read.
yeah, no, I get it. I had that impression, and I wanted to say
Oh
it
yeah, it's so fun.
with a difference.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm
I'm
willing
very
to.
glad to read it. It was very interesting for me. It was surprising my reaction.
Hmm.
But so what happened here is we start off with a South African professor, white to be clear, who's is a professor of literature at a middling university. He he's
Just
kind of
a mediocre person. Like even his internal monologue is mediocre.
yeah.
Like he doesn't have a lot of brilliant things even going on in the brain.
I'm actually a little bit. I don't. This is something we're going to negotiate. Like, is
Uh-huh.
that because I actually took him as he's a smart. Coetzee thinks he's a smart guy. Coetzee think that this guy's clever. The
Oh, I didn't think that at all. I thought Coetzee was like writing about a middling. It felt like a I know professors like this.
yes,
It
and
was
I
like accurate, and I felt like he was poking not fun, but critiquing the figure of this guy, basically.
I I guess what was funny to me is like I saw I watched an interview of him and it was like yeah, he's not that far away from this guy. So anyway, we'll get more into like how do we read this, because this is an interesting difference. Um, we have that issue. So he's a professor. He sleeps with one of his students. It's not a rape. It's not an ideal situation, we might say, but it's consensual. They sort of have a little relationship for a while, and then very quickly, I don't know, the boyfriend, the fucking cad boyfriend, starts stirring up trouble. And he eventually is comes before a committee, which we'll talk about, and is
I
fired.
that was I actually that was the Me Too writing scene, which I thought was a pretty good scene. I mean, it's just how it go. I mean, it was just so real. Like it's just like that first part before he gets to the farm. I was reading it and I was like, well, this is just realism. I was like, this is just how these things work.
Yeah, like, and then the second, okay, and just to be clear, then he goes off to his daughter on a farm. She's not doing too great, but not badly. He spends time there getting to know some of the people, like the little vet, whatever she is, Bev, who he later has an affair with. Very sad and vaguely gross affair. Um, and then the daughter gets raped, and he can't in a home invasion, and that's upsetting. And well, we'll talk more about that second part later. Um, let's just deal with the first part.
Yeah, because the second half is more controversial, obviously. Let me rephrase that. The second half should be controversial. I imagine there's a reading of like, oh, cultural mixing or something that someone says somewhere, and I would go, ooh, no, 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 no. Bad, 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 bad. We're not here to solve a problem. Um, First of all, we are in recently post-apartheid Africa, South Africa, and it's bad. It sucks. Um, Bless you. But you were grimacing at apartheid, like, oh, yeah, it is bad. Thank you, Ray. And race relations in South Africa, well, they're more complicated. They're almost more complicated than race relations in America, but not by much. But it's very complicated. But basically, one of the things that there's a structural flip, which is that, the daughter-in-law is raped by black African men, and the teacher is white, took advantage of a black undergrad. So there's,
Wait, was she black?
oh yeah,
Oh,
very important.
okay. I didn't. Well, it never really came up as a. I don't remember them talking about it. I mean, I guess
Oh,
so. Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's like there's a lot of, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Um, well, now I'm questioning that, but okay. So, but it's very important to the novel. I think the white, black, black, white um, inversion, and I think that a false thing is that you can't say that these are even similar power struggles. You know, they're they're posited as an inversion, but I don't think Coetzee is saying this one struggle is like this other struggle, like equal. Um, I think they're more simultaneous facets of the culture, is what I'm seeing.
Uh,
Or do you think he is trying to make like leveling? I don't think he's trying to level it because they're obviously very different.
um, yeah, I don't know what he's quite doing there, because there wasn't really. I looked it up, and it's like, yes, she is black. It just didn't really come up. I felt like it just wasn't really like, it just didn't feel like it was important, the fact that she was black. Like, he doesn't really think that much in those terms with her, or like, oh well, yeah, like one of the white ones, like, I couldn't touch that, but one of these dark ones, oh boy, yeah, I can have a good time. I just didn't
So
really.
it's very important to the structure of a novel,
I can see why I've heard the structure of the novel, but I
but
just
not to his psyche. No,
yeah,
no.
not to the actual like internal struggles of David Lurie or even the way he's perceived in the aftermath. I
No,
don't.
I don't. I mean, he's not like a racist.
Yeah, so
I think it's more important to the structure, not to his
okay,
brain.
okay. I just want to be clear about that. That like this it's not something central to the first half. It's something that's just a fact.
Retroactively important, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah. We might say that, but then oh god. Okay, so let's get more into.
He has the affair. The affair gets blown open, and he gets pulled before the academic review committee, who's just on your side. We're on your side.
Well, the thing is that like he does this almost self-immolating strategy, like the worst way to defend himself you could actually concoct. He's not trying to defend himself, but it's like he's both saying everything that she's saying about me, the worst factual accusations are correct. I'm guilty. And I will give no sign of repentance whatever.
We've seen that. It's Louis, Louis C.K. coming back, other people. There's sort of that they usually change their tune as he does, but there's sort of that and you kind of think, okay, I kind of get it a little. You get like because he's like thrown into this tribunal and they're totally also in bad faith. They're like, we're just here to help you.
I don't think so. I feel like they really are.
Maybe not bad faith. Is it he's mistaking their individuality as the structure, maybe? Is that the mistake that he's
No,
doing?
I think what it because the way he talks about it to his daughter later is he thinks this whole issue is just like it's Maoist. The idea of that like I have to go in and talk about my soul and give like show that like I now have the correct views. And he says that he has philosophical problems with the committee. Like that's how he begins that whole part.
Right.
And like when he like later on, when like, come on, man, like we want you to keep your job. You're putting us in the position we're going to have to fire you. Can you give us some kind of apology? And he's like, no. And I just have to say, like, what a dumb fucking move. Like, I don't. I mean, the thing is, like, what's frustrating to me is like, there's nothing in his character that suggests like, I don't know, crank like this is almost like sovereign citizen territory or just like a an impassioned idealist or something like that. And I believe in individual conscience. And it's like, man, you screwed one of your students. Can you at least you understand the politics of your situation here? Like, don't get fired if you don't have to be. At least maybe he does deserve to get fired. Maybe the administration is being too soft on him. But I just mean I don't get this character. I don't get this move. It comes out of left field.
Really? I mean, it's just maybe I'm just like admiring Coetzee's realism because like I mean in the real world Me Too movement it happens all the time exactly this way, right? Where someone like there's I can't even name names of some of the things I know at colleges, but this is a common response to first go, it's the principal when you're totally in the wrong. So he's yeah, he is totally in the wrong. I'm just like I just from like life experience, I'm like, yeah, they do that. And why do they do that? I think in part because the character, I think Coetzee does a really good job of portraying academic bad faith. He's like always talking about these romantic ideals, and he's like wants to write an opera, which ultimately boils to him down to him like not being a composer. On one hand, he can't like he can't do anything with it. It fizzles out. Um, yeah, I think that the yeah, I think the character's totally infuriating, but I mean, I think it's just straight psychological realism.
I mean, my problem with it is that a response like something a little more like, look, I'm just a professor who slept with one of my students. Like it was consensual. It wasn't a big deal. Like, why are you making this such a big deal? That's like that's not a good response, but like that makes more sense to me. Like that's some kind of like reasoning that like comes out of like a certain sort of very superficial mindset. I felt like this, I mean, oh God, it was so painful the way he was just talking about, like, well, Eros struck me. You're talking to a committee about how Eros came over you.
So I'm having a fuzzy time with your critique. Are you critiquing, are you saying that like, this is a bad depiction, or are you saying you don't like him?
Oh, I don't, well, both.
Oh, okay.
Primarily, I don't think it's a good depiction. Like, I just don't, it strikes me as this character would either try to, just be political about it and like, okay, yes, I am denying certain parts of the allegation and I am going to have this legal battle with you, like some sort of self-preservation here. Or he would, I don't know, just like,
What evidence do you have that he wouldn't be obstinate? I mean, he just seems like an obstinate guy.
well,
Like with his daughter, he
there's
like
nothing really like all that we've got is like, yeah, I'm just kind of here being this professor, and
he's
like, yeah,
totally consumed by sex as a moral virtue, right? I mean, look at the poets he's reading and quoting all the time. He's obsessed with this romantic view of romanticness. And it seems like he's totally the type of guy to just say Eros took me. I
like
know,
I have to say that was just so painful to hear that. Like it
I
made
just know professors who in the same position would say exactly the same thing. Like, so I have no problem with the depiction because it's just like, yeah, that's how that works. Like my reaction is the opposite. It's like, oh yeah, that's how men in that scenario often do that.
uh,
Like they rely on a lofty ideal to cover up just like, excuse my French, fucking. You know what I mean? Like some
let's see. I'm going to say that I am not familiar. You apparently just have a lot more information about like this kind of situation than I do. I will concede that it it just felt. I mean, it felt unrealistic to me. It didn't feel like this. This is the tact someone like that would take. He doesn't feel like someone who. The thing is, he doesn't like romanticize the whole Melanie situation at all. Like there's none of that mentality. Like I feel like he'd have to be a lot creepier about it, and a lot more like, oh yeah, she really loves this. She really needs me, and like she loves being with her professor, or something like that to make like
well,
some
no, because
megalomaniac.
well, you're not accounting for rationalization, though. I mean, most people aren't just like, I am God. So what he says, remember at the end, he goes to the play, and he's shocked when the boyfriend says, she'd fight him. He's shocked at that, which is insane if he was a rational human. And so it makes perfect sense that he wouldn't actually consider her perspective.
I mean, I it's just
But wouldn't you say that's good evidence for that rationalization? Is that he can't understand that?
you can't understand that.
He would hate it. And he definitely is a creep. He's at the end, he goes to the play and he talks about, well, there's still some undecided feelings there. Because like creepy people, creepy men don't go out into the world saying, I'm a creepy man, I'm gonna stalk you. They say, I love you.
I feel like there's a little bit more. There's a little more of a dimension to this. Like when I okay, like just to take a contrast for me of Michel Houellebecq's novels, they're largely about. I mean, one of them is literally a professor who I can't remember whether he sleeps with one of his students, but certainly that's on the table for him. Um, it just feels much more like, yeah, I feel that particular dimension of sleaziness. I feel like the actual calculus behind it much more. Here, I don't. It just feels like this character of Professor Laurie is just not a very, it doesn't come off to me as consistent. Like there's something there, but I that sudden shift didn't make sense to me. This total is like really just suicidally idiotic career move. Um, so I'm sorry not to have more for that, but
That's
that
okay. We can move on. On
yeah,
that one, I mean, there's so much going on in the novel. We can agree to disagree
yeah,
on that.
but like it just strikes me like other things in the novel, like it's around just like this usual characterization, just like I mean the daughter. I mean this way the daughter is like she's out there being a farmer, um, and she gets raped, and then she just stubbornly refuses to leave the farm, even though it's like, well, those men could come back at any time, and she just says like, well, you don't. All I know is I have to stay here, and it's like
Yeah, but like father,
that's
like daughter.
dumb.
It's just
What?
like father, like daughter.
No, no, like I don't see the like, characterological logic here. Like I don't feel it of like you're doing something suicidally stupid. You know it's she knows that it's stupid in a real way. And I don't actually feel like, well, what are like the pins of her personality doing that results in this? It just pained and frustrated me that a character would just self-immolate like this in the same way that the father does. Like I see a consistency thematically with that, but it's
I
just
mean,
like
that's the theme of the novel. And I think it sounds, I think, okay. I mean, I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, I was disturbed by it for totally different reasons. Um, but I was more disturbed because, like, okay, so like the logic of being pig-headed. I don't, what's the best, but
yeah, yeah.
sublimely pig-headed, right? You know, you're going to do this thing, sublimely stubborn, right? Like you're going to do this thing against all rationality. I mean, I see it time and time again that people experience that as exercising their freedom. I mean, I can't,
But
it's so funny, like, give
I,
it away, but like, okay, so I'm going to say, like, a person I knew was dying of type 2 diabetes. Diabetes, like the commercial. Sorry, it's not funny at all. This is very,
how it is.
right. Okay,
Um,
type 2 diabetes, and never once lifted a finger to change the lifestyle and died. But it took a year and a half, and everyone in his life had to quit their jobs, and it kind of ruined this whole area of this group of people who I'm just going to remain nameless. But, you know, when we talked about it, he's just like, I can't give it all away. You know, I can't give it up. Like, I can't, you know, it's like, it was very clearly he thinks he's exercising his freedom. And that's the type of logic that's at work in this novel. It's very disturbing, but I think it happens all the time.
well, like I would agree that people do incredibly stupid things regularly. I will say that even I would like do things that on some level I know like you're not supposed to do this, but there's a certain psychological pull. Like, yeah, but I have to do it this way. At least like there at least I'll have moments like that. And like Faulkner, like he's a wash in that in his novels. Like the Jason character, like just the sort of pigheadedness, stubbornness that he has, and like the way he's predicted, like following Quentin
Mhm.
in the third part of the book. It's like this is dumb. You know it's dumb. Like
Yeah.
or the Light in August. Like it's just so many characters who are just possessed, like the main woman. It's like she's trying to find the father of that, or the man that made her pregnant, and she's just going off into somewhere in the south without basically any direction. And it's like that he would like leave her. Like
Hmm.
anyone should know that. And there's almost no chance of basically pure accident that she finds him again. Um, this is dumb. Like that's dumb. But I get it. Like the certain magic. There's a certain like yes, I see how like a southern woman of poor literacy and like who has this particular sort of uh,
So
determined
basically,
quality. Like yes, I see her why she do the stupid thing.
right.
Or
But
Jason,
boiling
yeah,
it down, it's not about that. Like what I just said, the critique is not about that. You simply don't think it's believable.
yeah. I don't think. Well, I think something like this could be believable. I think something like these moves that are made in the novel could be presented in a way like where yeah, I really do see how a character might do something like the very last stuff that the daughter does is so awful. Jesus Christ. But at least some of it, like I sort of get. I can definitely see, like, yeah, okay, like just being outraged. Like, yeah, if he had a much more fragile self-esteem, where it's like he feels like, and he's just trying to assert himself as a manly man in the situation, and you've seen that in his character and the way of talking earlier in the book. Like I could definitely see like that scene of him just like screw this whole legal process in a certain way.
Did you
I
like it? I
yeah.
liked it when he beat him up a
Oh,
little.
when
I
when
liked it when I liked it when the main character beat up the kid.
the
Rapist.
yes, oh yeah, yes,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, that scene, yeah,
Like
yeah,
the first moment of animal emotion from the dude.
yeah, that was, but it was. I would have liked more of that in a sense, but the whole thing is,
You
yeah,
think, you think if more a better ending of the novel would be that the dad just fucking kills him? I thought about that.
yeah.
Kind of a satisfying ending, actually.
Well, no, I almost just a more satisfying ending to me is almost he just turns away with disgust at his daughter, and never wants anything to do with her because of this horrific situation she's put herself in of like marrying the man who likely had a hand in her being raped in the background, like set up the event. Um, and now is just living with like the one of the rapists who's apparently mentally disabled.
But
Um,
in like a rapey way. Like he's like kill, 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 kill. Sorry.
I mean, I can
Like,
definitely
it's
see.
not like oh he's a little slow. It's like hey.
I think that's like an environmental thing where it's like, I mean, I remember severely autistic kids in my school, and it's like, yeah, I could see one of those being warped and twisted by like a gang into like, hey, let's show you how. This is one thing you can do with women. Um, so like I can see that, and like it's just like this little creature now. It's like it's actually just very tragic his existence of like he's too dumb to survive on his own, and he's too much of a monster to be likable because of his environment. So it's like, okay, this is, but the thing is, none of that actually comes through. Like, oh, like the nightmarish tragedy of this poor black kid's existence. Um, it's just
Well,
like,
I think I mean, so I like to look through after I read a book and look at like good and bad reviews. And like the more we talk, one of the bad reviews I sent you, half of it actually is partially your critique too, just even more so. Like it says he doesn't, you don't get it. One of the critiques that comes up is Coetzee doesn't depict women's subjectivity. But you would go even further and say he doesn't even do a good job at depicting the guy's subjectivity.
Now,
It's like everyone's subjectivity is not well depicted for you.
yeah, it's something where like I feel like the characterization is okay. Like this is something like understandable for a detective novel. I don't think this is deserving of a Nobel Prize. Um, it's well, the problem is like I can actually sort of understand. I'd actually say, it'd be okay to just sort of like we don't actually get into what the life of the women are like. We're all just seeing everything from perspective of David Laurie.
Because it is his narrative. That was my one critique of that
One,
is like, well, it's his book, so
one thing that did like frustrate me was just like there's a point about like, oh well, you're a man, you can't understand what it's like to be raped, and my response is men are raped too. Like 1/10 of all rapes, at least reported rapes, are men are the victims. So I do find that like, yeah, I don't know how it's like specifically for a woman, but I found that to be just really the way they treat it. Like, oh, it's this horrific mystery, and it's like, okay, I think a rape. Obviously, no one who hasn't been raped knows what that's like, but men are not in a much worse position to understand that than a woman who hasn't been raped. Like that's my kind of picture of that. So I just want to note that bit which frustrated me.
well, okay, sure. But that's like, I mean,
It's not that big of a deal. It was like one of these.
like if that's like the critique you make to a person you know, it's kind of like a what about the price of tea in China critique for a 90s novel in South
It
Africa.
matters. It matters. There's lots of this sort of reasoning going on in the book. Like the way it's like, okay, the girl gets raped, and the way the whole logic of it is, and when he talks about it later, is, oh yeah, these people stealing from her, those are just like repo men, who are just taking back from the whites what has been stolen from them, or or as compensation, reparations for the all the bad that's been done. It's like, no, like yes, there is a complicated history of racism, but it's like these are not. It's not
No.
relevant to the story. It's not like you can
I
come up
think
with other ways.
I mean I can see her saying that, she's like a bleeding heart and
It feels like that's
she's
just
saying it in bad faith because she doesn't want to move.
and the feeling like, well, why doesn't she want? Like, there's one thing about the characterization for me is I didn't actually feel the trauma coming from her. Like, I just sort of felt like, okay, she's been raped now, and she's the same sort of like character. Like, you don't get any like big shift in the way it comes out. Like, I can definitely see like there's maybe some sort of change, like subtle change, but you feel like an iciness. But it just doesn't come across as, oh yeah, you're dealing with a shattered human being who has no concern for her like future well-being. Um, like so like I just found it like very frustrating.
I mean, I
Um,
found it frustrating too, but like on a subjective level, not in an aesthetic level. I found it frustrating because these characters are deeply frustrating, flawed people, but that doesn't at all have anything to do with the aesthetics for me. I mean,
yeah,
I'm
again,
reading
like
this for two.
I would be happy with it if it was just better character. If this was like Faulkner, then I'd be just like, yeah, okay, like these characters are doing self-destructive things, and I believe every moment of it. Here, it just felt. I do actually think that Coetzee thinks that this professor is like smart. I do
That
actually.
would be, by the way, just to give you some credit, if that were true, I would find that disturbing. because I read it like it's just he's this guy who's kind of in his head and everyone assumes is brilliant and he knows like his field is fine. Obviously, he doesn't have any trouble with the Byron. But beyond that, it's not like he's an ethical guy. And so I if he really does identify with the main character and not in a humiliating way, like self-critique,
Yeah.
then yeah, I would agree. I think that would be well, I think that would be the death knell of the quality. But I don't think so.
Well, I mean, like just like lines from the book that like killed me. Um, like his pleasure in living has been snuffed out, like a leaf on a stream, like a puffball on a breeze. He has begun to float toward his end. I like a puffball on the breeze, and it's like the second metaphor. It's
I
after
took it, yeah, I took it as just ironic,
I just found that like that was tasteless.
Yeah. But yeah, of course, everything he does is tasteless. Every single line in this entire book that this man says is not aesthetic. And that's why that's like the one little humor for me in this book is like you have this guy who's supposedly in the arts, in the humanities, right? With no aesthetic distance towards anything he's working on at all. There's no, critical. So I found that to be fine because it just fit with his sort of middling mediocreness. Like it was totally, I thought his character was totally consistent. And like most middling mediocre people, of course he's going to take a stand on pain of death when he's the most wrong. That just seems in line, that just seemed fine.
I mean, it was. I'm just trying to like find like the other like little lines that I like draw down. That's like no, like that's Coetzee speaking. He thinks he's being clever.
Oh,
Oh,
I don't think he's being
oh, well, like I
clever.
mean, like I do think like the way that like okay, um, it's talking about a it's talking about the fire. Let's see. I'll just read the whole thing and then get to the end bit, which I don't think will be that offensive to like those listening, but I'll just mention. A fire. What is remarkable about it? If a fire goes out, you strike a match and start another one. And this is how I used to think. Yet in olden days, people worshipped fire. They thought twice before letting a flame die, a flame god. It was the kind of flame your daughter rekindled in me. Not hot enough to burn me up, but real fire. Burned, burnt, burnt up. That burnt up. He keeps using that throughout it about how like it's like you'll just get that little like different inflection because that's something he like would teach his students is like the difference between like the perfective versus incomplete tense, whatever the grammar terms are. It keeps happening, and I really feel like Coetzee think that's clever.
Mm.
That there's something like that. That's just a great move to have that, and also just that speech. Like I don't get the impression of anything that like that speech in itself, which I just think is what the fuck are you doing? Like this is bad. Talking about this like great passion that he had from Melanie, and it's like, okay, yeah, he wasn't even characterized as that great. It's like, okay, yeah, he a little infatuated briefly. Um, a few hot scenes, but it didn't.
Well, I mean,
But it,
hot. He's not really described. We get sex from his perspective, and even from his perspective, it's not like that great or anything. I mean, he
yeah, I
comes
mean,
across
it's
as like, I did a competent job. And I loved that. Okay, so I loved that because he's so obsessed with sex, but when the act finally happens, he's like, "Yep."
I I
I
mean,
just thought that was so funny. I
it,
like that.
it felt to me like no, like this is Coetzee is he thinks that this is like a passionate experience.
Right now that okay, so like here's where we're at, right?
Yeah.
Because with your evidence, I think if I reread the novel with Coetzee's ego, I'll say it that way, it's artistic persona, it's kind of, whatever it is. Yeah, that would be deeply problematic on the aesthetics. So the fact that I didn't, I think leads us to a total impasse.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But if you do, like, I'm totally with you. If you read that way, then he's just kind of like like he thinks he's like the writer thinks he's great, which is a terrible way to produce art. For me, I'm not seeing Coetzee in there at all, other than just like staging. Like what I read is okay, this is where Africa is at. And that like that's the meaning of the novel for me, is in some way, this is this is what this place is at. And the very clear symbolism between the obstinacy of the father and daughter and the obstinacy of certain factions in the country was pretty mundanely there. So I just thought that was sort of the theme. Now that you're talking about these pernicious worms of Coetzee's mediocrity, like subjective media, like his
yeah,
personality coming in, no, I can see your side.
yeah. I mean, just
Like this is not William Gass. Like where we spend like 3 hours just like you fucking idiot, this is good, and you're like you fucking idiot, you're a dumb like like we're going back and forth.
not
This
really
is
what's
more
fun.
like no,
I was actually hoping for more of that energy today. Um,
no,
it's more just like, oh,
no,
it's more
well, no,
consuming.
no, I can kind of see your side. Like I don't think you're stupid for not appreciating this novel. You
Yeah,
know, as long as you don't think I'm stupid for
no,
liking it.
I don't, I get,
With William Gass, I think we were both more like on the side of this. How can this guy possibly like or dislike this?
yeah, that one was much more because okay, I do think that Coetzee, I think he's a better writer than Guess, uh, and he's less, he's at least he's not wearing his sentimentalism on his sleeve.
He's
Uh,
what, but you would say he is just through the main character.
yeah, as in like it's still there. It's just less emphatic. It's less it's like no, like there's you're not thinking through things, but like you're not but there aren't these like gushy parts for gas
Yeah,
where which just ugh.
gushy, sexy parts of
I
ooze.
mean not even the sexual parts, just like when he's like complaining about sports or about how awful the city is. It's just like oh, this is so unoriginal. It's so banal, the way you're doing this. So like,
I
but here it's like no, there's a little more. It you
and I,
can't point to anything specifically besides like burn, whatever.
yeah, I mean it's less egregious for you. Okay. I mean I think the one thing I will give you though is so like I got to the end of this, I was deeply moved. And by that I don't mean moved in like a Dickensian way or a tragic ending. I was moved to disgust. And I liked that. I liked that sort of headbanging about the
Yeah, no,
daughter.
I would like. I mean, I like that. In a sense, I could see this novel, broadly speaking, uh, being good. At least I
I was
think
like, if Faulkner wrote it.
if Faulkner wrote, yeah, oh yeah. Actually, that would be the thing. Like you have a
The
South
position.
African Faulkner. Like you could that's a creature that could exist.
Right. Well, it could structurally exist because you have a white Southerner writing about race relations in one way. I mean, writing about the decline of the South in a broader sense, but like, and Coetzee's doing the same thing in South Africa. Um, so here's one thing I will give you. So when I finished this, I was like deeply moved. I love, but part of it, because I'm an artist, so I don't read. I take what I can for my own use to go, oh. And so the really main thing about this novel that I went, oh, okay, is I loved that horrifying feeling at the end of the I loved the fact that I was going, no, no, don't do that. No, what are you doing? Why are you so crazy? I thought I've never felt that so strongly in a novel in my life. I felt it other places, like in a horror movie, don't open the door. No, don't go over there. But this, it was like I felt like he was actually trying to put me in disgrace, like as the reader. Like I felt disgrace for like through this lady. Like it was so gross.
Yeah, the whole I mean, the problem is like I, the character of the daughter just isn't, doesn't, the characterization isn't good enough to earn that emotion, like that situation in my mind. Like I don't see her like as this weird broken creature who's coming out of it. She talks very rationally or very orderly.
Yeah.
She's going back and forth, and basically like the arguments she has with her father, and there's a couple of them. Like it may as well just be about like how are we going to pay the loan off the car or something. Like it doesn't. It's just something very simple, and like here's a line from her. Um, about like, well, why aren't we like, why are you staying here, daughter? Basically, and she says, she refers to her father as David. But isn't there another way of looking at it, David? What if that is the price one has to pay for staying on? That being like being raped and whatever, or robbed. Perhaps that is how they look at it, because that is how I should look at it too. They see me as owing something. They see themselves as debt collectors, tax collectors. Why should I be allowed to live here without paying? Perhaps that is what they tell themselves. And I just find that well, that's awful logic. This is so fucking stupid. Like just fucking go. Like these aren't, I can sort of see like maybe that's what the rapists think, but
No,
it's like, but then it's like it's so fucking dumb and awful. It's like a rapist doesn't, like, you'd have to say like, yeah, they might think that, and they're truly awful people, and you need to get away. And I feel like the fact she wants to stay is like, no, I should be raped. I should be raped.
well, that conflicts also. So earlier or later, I forget where she says that she does compare them to beasts. She says they aren't robbers, they're professional rapists, and the robbery was the perk on the side. You know, I actually think they're professional dog murderers because that shit sucked to read that passage where they just shot point blank all the dogs. That was when you knew they're not robbers because robbers wouldn't do that. But also, there is an element when the dogs barked at only black people.
I mean, yeah, but I just, the thing is it doesn't, for a book that is trying to deal with racial issues, it deals very little with racial issues. I feel like it doesn't feel to me like I really learned anything about what it's like to be a black South African. Like what's actually the feeling like, and how does interacting with, or at least what it looks like as like a white to deal with black Africans. Like I didn't feel the tension. Like I don't know, like you have this interactions on the street, or you have like you go to the store and you see something happen, or just stuff like that. Like I just
Think
didn't.
about that when he was at the party and he just, I'm the only.
That was the only example, but it was very like the party scene where it's like, okay, yeah, they're black and he obviously doesn't fit in, but it was so little. It was so little
Oh,
for what I
I had
was.
a totally different thing. I thought he was trying to purposely have race emerge. Because like for the first part, you didn't even know the girl was black. Shame on you, by the way. Very important.
I just,
I thought it was fairly clear, but that's
yeah,
okay.
no, I think
No worries.
yeah, I do find that like notable that I didn't notice that. Like, why
But
didn't I
but
see it
also
black? But
because we're American. I mean, really, there is objective coding in this book that I don't think I picked up on all of it.
yeah, I mean, I think Mulaney Isaacs, maybe Isaacs is a black name. I don't know. It just like that just felt like such a white name when I read that. So maybe that was part of what threw me off.
feel like there was a description, I might be wrong in this, where it's like he thought about her dark olive skin or something, which
Okay,
made
okay,
me
okay, the thing is like it says dark olive skin, and frankly, I don't know what olive is. I don't know what color that is. So I just presumed it's like
and you're thinking
I guess it's
not
tan.
a green person, right?
Yeah, like I just I'm just gonna be frank, like that was a problem, but I just assumed, oh, okay, she like maybe looks Italianate. Like,
Or maybe just a little sickly or something.
I, like I'm not I don't I just didn't bother to look up like, well, what how dark is olive? Uh,
You're fine. Okay, can we talk about one more section of this book? By the way, it's still fun. I love it when we disagree. You know, it's like that's life. You
no,
know,
this
we
is
go
fun.
on.
This is fun.
Okay, so I think I'm wrong on one part. I think I was enraptured with the melodrama, but I think you're right. I think there is melodrama for melodrama. I mean, you didn't say that, but I mean, I think there is a little my critique, my negative. I think there is occasionally
Okay,
melodrama.
I just have to say this quickly. I
Yeah.
looked up olive skin, and these girls are white, or best Hispanic. Like, I just want to put that there. So anyway, going on.
Well, then where did I get it from without looking it up? Okay, sorry, whatever, never mind. But I felt that it was weird that he went to see the dad. And I felt that scene. I almost wondered. So, my critique of Coetzee in that is him going, don't just make it melodramatic. Don't just make it melodramatic. So, he engineered it like not to be melodramatic, but I don't know. I got a
Yeah,
little bit there. I
it
just felt like it
was
wasn't very deep.
it was really awkward and weird, and I think I sort of see where he was going with it, but I just think it fell flat. He goes to see the ah, you fucker. There was a spider. Um um
He goes to see like unconsciously.
well
He's
he goes
trying
to
to.
see the
He goes.
father,
Yeah, he's
and
going
he
to
doesn't know what
apologize.
he's going to do. He doesn't know
Yeah,
what he's going to do when he goes to see the
yeah.
father.
He's just like, yeah, I got to go do this.
And he talks with the father, and he just basically says, I mean, he more or less says, "Yeah, I just couldn't help but fuck your daughter." That's almost what he's saying of like she was just such a that section I was reading aloud to the class, like that one of them I lost it now, was just like, yeah, like I just had this fire for your daughter, and I couldn't help myself. You don't let a fire like that go out. And it's like,
Whew.
you're talking to her father right now, buddy. Is this a valuable contribution to your mutual discourse with this man? Um, and then the father invites him to dinner, which I think that
He's waiting for an apology. He's waiting for the bullshit to stop, clearly. And
yeah,
then at one point, the father is like, "Oh, this guy's one of these guys who's going to get you in a trap." And I'm like, "No, he's not. He's just fucking waiting for you to apologize." Like the father of Melody seemed pretty fucking cool, actually.
yeah, he seems fine. He seemed
Yeah, he was
fine.
fine. It was just like he was
I
probably amazed at the words this guy was saying. He's probably like, "Oh my God, this guy is saying horrible things to me."
Yeah, I mean the thing is like it pushes past believability of like, no, like if someone came to your office one day and basically said like, yeah, I had to fuck your daughter, I just had to, um you don't expect an apology after that. Like, you just I don't feel like that's a quite a reasonable move, but I'll give him a pass on that point.
I think, well, it's because so much of what the professor is doing is so obviously just rationalizing. And I think that the dad picks up on that. You know, he's just saying whatever. But he came to him for some reason. And because remember, the dad believes in God. So he believes he's here for a reason. And it cannot be because he has to tell me my daughter is hot. That can't be the reason.
Yeah,
So
like
he's
there's
waiting
a
for the
point. So
reason
I'm
to
giving him
occur.
a pass on the invitation. just find one thing I just have to note here, by the way, is like, okay, like having sex with your student, this is a problematic action that can cause problems for the student. Um, Not recommended. Um, but I do want to say like her boyfriend is much worse. Like her boyfriend seems like straight up abusive, probably. Like
I think it was implying that,
yeah.
actually.
So I just have to say like this is the person. I just find it a little, I don't know, funny. Just that contrast of
You're
like,
you're just like on this. You're just like the ex-wife, man. You're just harping on him.
yeah, I am because
Ex-wife goes out. It's like it is kind of funny how the ex-wife is like on one hand like the only normal person. She's
you
like,
know,
God, Tim, you really screwed your life over there. What are
oh
you
that
doing?
was, I do have to say like this is
David,
just the
God,
plot
David.
point that I
Yeah.
think was significant to me was he's at that little committee hearing and the doc and he's like I plead guilty to everything that Melanie has said. And it's just like there's his ex-wife has told him that there's talk of whether like he roofied her as like like this is the thing that's being spread around. He should read the allegation to see is he admitting to like full-blown rape. um
But she never did. He never roofied her.
yeah, he never roofied, he never did that, he never.
No.
I mean there was one scene where consent was
Not explicitly given.
yeah, not explicitly given, and that was not a good move on his part. Certainly not.
No, I think, I mean,
But I do just want to
no,
like put that
he
in. Like,
did the
it's
wrong
dumb. It's
thing.
like you literally in the scene before. It's like you're saying like this fact is brought up, and it's like he doesn't bother to even like look. Like you could go to prison for admitting that. Um,
This,
South African prison.
I do like how much this novel got you on, like, no, what are you doing on that level?
In a way that was if again it feels unfair to compare anybody to Faulkner, but I don't know. You write literature. You're a big boy now. You should be compared. It's like it matters to me that like these characters, if you write a character a certain way, they have to act within a certain range, and if they don't act with that certain range, then you better have a good explanation for that. And I just found like the characters consistently not doing that,
Do
and
you think he's playing tennis with the net down?
yeah, like I
That
don't.
metaphor? Like Robert Frost said, free verse poetry was playing tennis with the net down, which is not true in free verse poetry, but do you think kind of here he's playing tennis with the net down?
I would say I wouldn't say that. I would just say he's trying to play it with the net up, but it's just he's hitting the net. Like that's that's actually what I'd say is
He's
like
just not very good at tennis.
yeah, he's just not that great at it. Like he's not like throwing it out. Like I'd say that a lot of things that would frustrate other people reading this book, like the state of kind of irresolution that it has, or like the sort of shifting perspective of the novel, or like the fact he never really says he did anything. He kind of does and he kind of doesn't, and it's the fact that like well what's going to happen with the daughter, and it's like okay she's going down this path, how does that look? I don't mind that. Like I'm happy with like non-endings.
Yeah, but it's the characterization. It's like zeroing in. It's a really specific problem you have.
Yeah,
It's
like I just and well the characterization and the style.
I think that I'm trying to find ways of talking about these people without using their names. But so I found one. Heidegger. Heidegger does this. He never denounces Nazism in his entire life. Instead, he makes these gigantic metaphysical, they even call it in Heideggerianism the turn. And it's implied that it's the turn away from Nazism, but it's a little bit of knavery, if you will, because you can just say, I'm not a fucking Nazi. And he never once in his life apologized, changed his mind. And even in correspondence with Hannah Arendt, it becomes very clear it's the same type of position that our main character does here, David does, where it's like, you can't you can't force me to say the words that you want me to say.
The thing is I feel that like reading Heidegger's letters on this, like I get that like sense of his character that created that,
Mhm.
but I just didn't get it with this guy. It's just it's like, yeah, okay, you're very art you're an I won't say pseudo articulate um professor. Like you need give me more of why he would do this action, why he would. I get why he'd sleep with the student, like that made sense. Like, sometimes you're attracted to students. Um, I can understand that, and you don't have any particular qualms against sleeping with them. Like, okay, I can see the logic of that, but just the sudden, like, I'm just gonna take this note. Um, yeah, and I also just want to say, like, okay, I just have to say, the worst written character in the book was the boyfriend. Like, God, like I just like he was spitballing him in the little theater performance of Melanie. Like that was so stupid and tasteless. And just like, does the guy just keep around with him scraps of paper and a straw? Um, to do that? Like I just like I just couldn't. It was such a. I mean, even for like the other problems with the book, like it was just so tasteless, like that aspect of it. I can see other things happening of like, I don't know, him being tapped on the shoulder or something, or I don't know, but that, Jesus Christ.
I found it perfectly believable. 18 to 22-year-olds, that's what they do. I don't know. It didn't.
I i don't know, it just felt like, oh, okay, we're like in a 1980s high school movie or something like that. Like that's what it felt like to me. um I just found it like shocking that he would do that.
Shocking that an 18-year-old would do a spitball or
Shocking that a that a writer would write this without
but
feeling like offended at like just what he had done. No, just offended at the act of writing that. Like I just found that extraordinarily painful, and everything that guy had to say, it was like, okay, like we got our walking stereotype of the upset quasi abusive boyfriend. Um, so like that was just agonizing.
oh, okay. You know, you get bothered by a lot, Ray. And I'm just here for a good time. We compliment each other well. No, I'm a critical person too, but I'm not. I'm a lot more liberal with literature. Like I kind of am like, well, that's just kind of how that book worked.
I mean, I'm happy with, like, again, we were talking about Faulkner the entire time, but there's stuff he does in there that's just like really gross and kind of irrelevant. Like, I don't know, he has like this one kid just like eat an entire thing of toothpaste just because that's what the kid likes to do. And
Hmm.
it works, it fits. It's like, yes, that is the kind of weird fucking thing some kids would do. I could think of things from my childhood not that far away. Um, so I get that. I get that. It just this felt like, okay, 1980s abusive boyfriend high schooler like territory. Like I just,
Cue the Bruce Springsteen music, right?
yeah, something like that. So I just couldn't. Yeah. Enough about that character though. Um, yeah.
Well, kind of covered the whole novel. I mean, Yeah, I mean, what I like about it seems to be what you don't like. So that's the
I mean, a big part of it is just like we read it differently. Of I read it as basically the professor is Coetzee in a big way. I don't think completely. I think Coetzee's probably a lot different than this. But I think in a big way he is. And I think like when he's doing like his little lectures on like Byron or something, it's like, yeah, that's probably not too far away from how Coetzee does a lecture. At least seeing an interview of him gave me that impression.
uh-oh. I don't like that you have evidence. It makes my position
You might
worse.
disagree. You might disagree. But
Well,
I
I'm
I
gonna
haven't
go
seen him
with
like
your car.
lecture on an author, but
Well,
like
I mean, another thing to give you credit here is we we do spend a lot of time with his inner monologue and outer monologue for it to be like ironic. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of there's like poetry analysis and he's kind of I like that scene because he's kind of losing it, the second time.
yeah, I'm just trying to think of like other writers.
He's kind of hysterically analyzing the literature, as the class gets quieter and quieter and he gets more hysterical. Um,
Yeah, he's just trying to keep it going. Yeah, I think at least it strikes me like it's sort of the character like Emma Bovary because we talk he talks about like Madame Bovary name drops that any number of times, which just that pains me a little bit
do,
because I
do
love
you
that
think
novel so dearly.
you think
Emma Bovary is a bit tasteless. She's Flaubert has gone on record saying, "I am Madame Bovary." Like her passions, her life is her. But there's ways in which like the way she talks, the way she sentimentalizes, there is a bit of cheapness to that. And you can detect it. Like you can see very clearly what like the points of like, okay, yes, she's going overboard here, or yes, this dialogue she's having with another character is exceptionally banal. And it's actually a tragedy to that because it's like, oh, these are some of like her deepest emotions, and like she's incredibly touched by this interaction, this romantic interaction. And it's like, yeah, but it's just moonlight and flowers. Like it's just the worst romantic banalities.
hmm,
And it's sad. It's sad actually in that sense, and it's beautiful because of that the kind of kitsch that Flaubert has recreated for us. Uh, but Coetzee, I don't think so. I think he's not creating a pedantic intellectual. He is a pedantic intellectual. Um,
that's your Goodreads review? Oh, just that? No, yes, that's it. That's your buzz.
okay.
Because but that distills all of your critiques down into one line.
Yeah.
Is that everything flows from that subjectivity problem of the author
Yeah,
and
I
his.
mean, like, yeah, I mean, like another one's like Nabokov and Humbert Humbert in Lolita. It's like it's like Humbert Humbert is clearly different from Dear Nabokov, but the thing about Humbert Humbert is like, yeah, he's a pedophile, yes, but he's also like clever. He's really clever. Like he's
Oh,
really
he's a great bad guy.
thoughtful.
I mean, he does this whole rigmarole. He's great. He's a great character.
Yeah, and it's like I'm just so on. I just love reading about beloved Humbert Humbert because he's just and the things he does are just genuinely funny. Um. So anyway, but like I didn't get, I didn't get the feeling that Coetzee is that David Orr is either actually like intelligent like Humbert Humbert, nor do I actually get the feeling that Coetzee thinks that the things he said that the professor says are kitsch, like you have with Flaubert.
And now I got to reread it because I'm at an impasse because the only thing I can do to solve this problem in my brain is I have to go reread the novel from your perspective. I don't know if I want to do it because like
I don't recommend it. Like I'm
I
just
liked it. So I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to go back and read it just to
just
like
it's
not
okay,
like
man. It's okay. You
it.
really don't.
But so I think something we can keep in mind for next time though is so the issues you have with Coetzee on this novel are occasionally similar to issues that I have with Sartre. Now, Sartre is sort of a sublime guy. He's sort of grander, larger than life. He figurizes him, he mythologizes himself. Coetzee doesn't do that, obviously. So I just want to, when we do the Sartre, I want to make sure that we take time to discuss this issue and if it is in Sartre, or if it's there but different, or if I'm wrong and it's not there at all.
Yeah. I do think my impression is that Sartre is a well, I haven't read other things by him. It's like, yeah, he's brilliant, but I don't hold him up as a model human being. He's someone who's like, there's a lot to learn from this man, and some of that is how not to be.
Do you think he kind of falls? I'm not saying this is a model of all genius, but do you think he falls into the sort of cliched genius paradox? Like he's clearly obviously brilliant, but you know, when I read Being in Nothingness, I started hating him. Just hating the man. Like I started going, "No, that's not bad faith." What? You know, I started thinking he's very reductive. He's also very presentism, like everything is sort of right there. I think that's sort of the positive too, though. You know, it's like right there. So I don't know. I'm very curious to see because I loved his plays. I just
Having read Nausea, and some of the a collection of short stories, The Wall,
yeah.
I found all of it to be masterful and likable. It's a very sordid world in which he inhabits. Like I remember once saying that reading Sartre is like reading philosophy while sitting in a puddle of urine. Um, it's like yeah.
But
That's
he still has a
but
sort of
but
heroic. Well, that's for next time. Well,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
there's still a heroicism in
But
Sartre.
I just have to say it's like I'm curious. I hear the later novels, which is we're going to read one of the later ones,
Mhm.
the Troubled Sleep, and I've started it and I like it very much. But I
Right.
can also see like yeah, but there's this life hater here. There
Yeah, there is a life hater in Sartre. There's also a self-indulgent prick.
yes, that's
I
a
mean, his critique of dialectical reason, where he tries to, you know, he tries to marry existentialism and Marxism, is like it's 2 volumes. It's like 1,400 pages, and no one's read it. You know, I mean, God forbid. Which really doesn't help your cause if you're a Marxist. So go
okay.
figure.
So yeah,
Okay,
so
but yeah, don't go. Well, stay after the recording for 2 seconds, if you have 2 seconds. But that's all I have for the Coetzee. It was fun to disagree on that one because
yeah, no, it was there any way it traumatized you? How would you say that? Because this is such a
there's a lot of things in my life that a lot of this book has lined up with, and that is the strangest sentence I feel I've uttered as a man in Utah. But no, there's just certain psychological things that he did that I thought were really great, that aligned with things that have happened in my life. Can I please tell everyone that I have not been Me Too'd? That is that my, I am happily married and life is fine. But just like in people around me's lives and not even close acquaintances, it was uncanny, some of the depictions for me. So that was where it hit me.
yeah. I mean, I'm willing to say that maybe if I knew this
Maybe
part
I was just re-traumatized and it wasn't an aesthetic experience.
of
Maybe
uh,
that's the problem is I didn't have enough distance from the work. That
yeah,
was
I mean, maybe if I knew a little more about these kinds of situations, I would have found it more reasonable. But I don't know. Michelle Welbeck just does this kind of thing better.
and
Uh,
he's funnier.
I believe
Funnier.
in Welbeck. Um,
Welbeck's funny.
yeah,
Welbeck's also. Great. I've started. Yeah, we got to do Welbeck because I think we're gonna. You've been hiding him a little. Like you're like, oh well, I like this guy Welbeck. He's like one of the most critically acclaimed living novelists, and and I got Serotonin. I read the first chapter, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy.
Yeah, yes, Eric.
I
Yeah,
get this.
that
Also, I just
that actually is one where I when you said like top 10 most disturbing novels, Serotonin's that for me. Actually, I think I don't want to say all of them are, but
yeah, but
no,
also
I think Serotonin might be the most because I mean, just in terms of like the sexual material, like Jesus Christ,
he kind of looks like Sardi. He's like a little impish, ugly dude. I love it. It's great.
yeah, he's just those magnetic eyes combined with just this unfit for life like body language.
Yeah. But anyway,
Magnificent.
we'll do him soon. Maybe after Sarge. But um,
Yeah.
thank
All
you,
right.
Ray. Thanks for joining me on that. It was
All
fun.
right. It was great, Chris.